Hey everybody, this is Robin. Just wanted to show you something that I'm working on right now that is pretty cool. I would think it's cool because, well, I figured out how to do it all by myself. So I had this idea of taking an image and basically breaking it up into blocks, which would enable me to do some cool things that I'm trying to get done with a certain design without having to resort to Flash. Because if you know anything about me, I absolutely hate Flash and will do anything at any consequence to stay away from it. And that's really just for cross-browser development and everything, making sure that everything works together. So that's the idea of what I'm trying to do. Unfortunately, HTML does not allow you to break up images like that. It's pretty, there's pretty standard transition libraries, especially within Safari, that do it, but nothing really on the scale that I would be able to do something custom. So basically what I have here is a script that when I run it, it basically breaks up the image, and you can actually see the coordinates that it's working with all up and down here. This just gives me an idea of what the script is doing in the background. Especially working with images in PHP, you really have no idea what's going on. It's just a little weird how they have it set up to work. So this just allows me to know, okay, it's working. So it's basically just giving me an X and Y coordinates that it's dealing with. Now if I go back into the folder, you can see it's created a image list, and if I go down here, you can see that it's basically broken up into 30 by 30 pixels, which is what I'm going for. Now if you go back here, I can actually show you the script that I'm working with. It basically grabs the image from the folder, basically sets the width to a width of 240, and then adjusts the height accordingly. And then it goes down here, it creates the directory for that image, and then this section right here breaks the image up into 30 by 30 pixels. Now I can change that to whatever I want, but for this instance I really only want 30 by 30. I probably will change it a little bit later in the future, but that's what I'm working with right now. Now jump over to this page, and you notice, ta-da, there's the image. Now if I go over here, just to show you what's going on here, and I just add a margin of 1 pixel, you can see there's the image broken up into, so it's not, I'm not trying to fool you by saying, hey look, I can do something else. This is actually just one image broken up into many pieces. It's a lot easier to do it this way with the PHP script, just because going into Photoshop or something like that, you can imagine how long it would take even just do a small image like this and break it up into pieces. So having the ability to break it up like that in PHP is just it's a godsend. Now the way I'm displaying this is just a div with a 240 width, since I'm working with the 240, and then it basically has an auto height, and the images within this are floating, so everything is floating left. So if you go over here, you can see 240 pixels, and then these are floating left. The margin and the padding is taken off the image just to prevent some things that I've dealt with in past HTML. And then this is very important. This is a table layout. You have to set this at fixed, otherwise HTML will go, hey, let me just put them all in one line throughout the entire thing, which you don't want. You want everything to fit within this, and that allows everything to line up correctly. Now the way I'm pulling these images is actually very simple. I'm using the PHP function global, which basically pulls everything, and as you can tell here, it's pulling from the animation folder, the folder 0, and then all the JPEGs within that folder, which is real neat. The only problem I've ever come across when doing this is if I take out a certain thing, you notice that certain images just show up in a weird order. So if I go down here, if you notice my naming schema is it's row by column, row by column, row by column. Now the weird thing is if I go into my inspector here, you'll notice that it does everything perfectly up until the end of row 1, and then it skips down to row 10. Now, but if you look in here, the operating system orders it naturally. So this was a hurdle for me just because I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. But since it's returned, the items is returned as an array, you can just I just use a what's called a nat sort function, which is basically natural sorting. It takes the array and then sorts them in the way that it should be sorted, and well, hold on one second. I need to save that. There we go. And then voila, you've got it fixed. So the neat thing about this is your image is loading quicker. One of the things that has always been a tool of the trade for designers, especially working for sites that may be viewed on a lower bandwidth, is that they've broken images up into smaller chunks and then arranged the chunks so it looks, normal. So by doing this, your page will actually load just a little bit quicker than just having this straight image. So that's a really neat idea. Now the cool thing is, now that you have it broken up into images, the way that I have this set up now is using a jQuery library. And if you notice, this is a really neat effect. It's basically randomizing the margin of the images within. So every time I hover over it, it's changing the images within, which I think is pretty cool. But anyway, what I'm doing here with the jQuery is, in order to make that thing that I just did work, this thing, I have to resolve the position of these images to an absolute position. So if you look down here in the inner workings of my script, this whole thing right here in this for loop goes through every single image in there, finds the position of that image, or rather calculates it, and then sets that as an absolute position with left and top. And then that way they're sitting there correctly, and when I move over, it's not giving me any problems. I'll show you what happens if I take that out. This is where it gets kind of weird. If I take that out, it does this, which is kind of cool, but not really. So that allows the image to stay within a border boundary. I'm not completely done with this. I'm still playing around with a few things. I have a few ideas in my head, but yeah, this is what I'm currently working on. I think it's pretty cool, and I hope you think it's pretty cool too.